Hey guys, Tim here from Algonaut. We're still on a Melodic Techno buzz here at Algonaut, so here's round 2 of Melodic Techno bass. Today I'm going to cover what I call a 16th bass, which you can hear all across techno. It's not a crazy hard bass to make, but I'll show you a few tricks in Massive to help you tune it so it gels with the rest of your mix. As always, as part of these Underground Masterclass videos, you can download a free pack of all the samples, loops, patches, and MIDI from the description and use them royalty-free in your own music. Also, bear in mind we also have other Melodic Techno tutorials on the channel as well, so make sure you check them out. So let's get into it. Alright, let's get a basic drum loop going so we have something to write our bass line to. So as usual, we're going to use Atlas to make the drums, just because it's really easy to find samples in these maps you can make from your sample packs, and you can cycle out whole kits, and it's a really simple, straightforward process to making a great drum loop. So let's go to maps. I'm going to load a map here called Algo Drums 5. These are some good samples we've made for our house and techno. I'm going to go new kit. And what have we got? Kick, snare, clap. Let's try it again. Quite cool. Nah, not that one. That's pretty good. That'll do well for our 16th bass as well, because it's nice and punchy. Alright. So Melodic Techno is going to slow it down a little bit to 122 BPM. And let's get a pattern going. So I'm going to choose, say, Techno 1. Let's turn a few things off. We don't need the other sound or the tom. Don't need the snare. And what have we got? Right, let's do a bit of tweaking. So this shaker is quite long. So I'm going to shape this up with the shape knob, make it a bit shorter. This is basically an ADSR on one knob, and pulling it left is pulling the release in. Going right increases the attack. Way better. Okay, nice. Kick's quite long as well, so I'll do the same thing there. Clap's a bit weird, might change that. I'm gonna randomize that. Yeah, and that's almost more of a tambourine. Oh, it is a tambourine. We'll try and find a better open hi-hat. Bit too classic. Interesting. That might do for now. I'm gonna shake it up a little bit. Alright, that's our drum loop. We'll work with that. Alright, so for our bass line, we're going to use Massive, just because everyone's got it. I know it really well. It's a really powerful synth. Its only weakness is maybe in the effects, but the rest of the synth is really great, and you can always just add your own effects anyway. So, moving on. 16th bass line. So I'm going to start from new sound. And the first thing I need to change, because on my new sound it turns the glide up here, so I'll turn that to 0. What have we got? Saw wave. What key should we work in? Let's work in A. Might make these a bit bigger. Utility, just to gain it up. Right. Okay, so let's rewrite the filter section. So we'll put in serial. They can go up. Set it to mix 2. That's good to go. Also, if you're working on a bass line, probably the first thing you want to do is change the voicing as well, so it's monophonic, because we don't want chords. As cool as that sounds, we just want one note. Alright. Okay, so let's set up the oscillators now. And generally when I work with oscillators, I usually have one oscillator just doing the fundamental waveform, either a square or a saw wave. And then I build on that. And that kind of tends to keep things sounding quite warm and natural without it sounding too weird. So, okay, so let's go square wave. In this case, we want a big punchy, fat sound. Nice. Okay, now we add a filter. So for the filter, I'm going to use low pass 4. It just tends to be the good one for this kind of sound. What have we got? We'll turn the resonance up a little bit in this case. Maybe I'll turn it to 0 to start. Sounding nice and warm and low. I'm going to boost the resonance a little bit now. Alright, and we're going to want to put a bit of an envelope on this as well. So let's look at the envelope. So first of all, master envelope, we'll turn this to attack to 0. We want obviously really fast stabs at a 16th. So I'm going to pull this back so that it'll be punchy, otherwise it's going to be too flat. I can make it a bit shorter. And now we need to get some more highs in there, so we're going to use an envelope on the filter. Dial that back. We could leave this pretty much as is for now, and push this up. Just a little bit, not heaps. Not doing acid. Might even pull it down a fraction. Let's give it a bit of a release on the, not much, just a bit. That as well. Turn the sustain down just a little bit. Then we can use decay to kind of shape how fast that stab is. We'll tweak all this a bit later anyway. Right, so that's sounding okay, but it's still kind of basic and not too warm with not a huge amount of character. So let's add some character to this. This is where the second oscillator comes in. So here's where I would turn it on and dial in. You could get experimental and just choose a different waveform, essentially. Probably recommend the ones in the second column here, or third column, sorry, analog and electric. And so basically at this point, we're going to be messing around with the wavetable position and the amp to dial in however much we want of it. I mean, that's not too bad, really. So with it on, kind of warm and nice. With it off, it's a bit too pure. Okay, so before we start continuing tweaking this synth, let's get a pattern down so we can hear what's actually going on. So pattern, we're working in A. Where's that? There it is. 2, 3, 4. I find duplicating a much faster way of actually working in piano rolls, by the way, rather than clicking all the time. Bit of a pro tip. Okay. What does this sound like? It's going to sound pretty weird at first. In fact, it's not even there. I feel like that kick's a little bit flat. Doesn't have that boom that it kind of needs. Let's change that. Nah. That's kind of better, but it's too long. Might even split that out so I can do just a little bit of processing before we continue. So, ins and outs. Atlas. This would be good for side chaining as well anyway. Atlas coming from channel 2. Channel 2. Yeah, it's got some highs in there. It's got some nice little interesting character thing going on there. I'm not mad at that. I'm going to boost this boom a bit. Let's just shelve down these highs a bit. Yep, sweet. That's not too bad. Alright, so let's sidechain that. I'm going to sidechain this to that kick, obviously. We can keep it at 2 to 1 with fast attack. And we'll tweak the release if necessary. Yeah, it's coming back too fast, so I'll just slow it down a little bit. Just a bit too slow. Just a few dBs. Alright, probably should put some swing on this as well. We'll go swing 99 at 10%. Just go about 20%. Alright, let's tweak the synth a bit more. Okay, so we've got our second oscillator dialed in, but I'll show you a trick here, just in case, if I did a bit of detuning, just to kind of prove a point, as you can see, as you can hear, the sound, the waveform is kind of shifting around, and it's kind of, every note is starting to sound a bit different from each other. There's a section here in Massive called Oscillator Phases, and what you can do is you can turn on Restart via Gate. So what this ensures is that every time a note gets pressed, the waveforms will restart at their starting positions, which means every note will be exactly the same, which is kind of what you want if you're doing this kind of bass line. Not what you want, by the way, if you've actually specifically detuned the waveforms and you want them to kind of shift around and sound more organic or dynamic. In this case, we want quite a static kind of sound. And this also gives us the power to shift that starting position of the waveform, which is actually really handy for getting a different tone out of the synth. So let's have a play with that. I'll just solo it. So right now, maybe I'll open the cutoff just a little bit more. We can change the starting position of waveform oscillator 2. So yeah, we've got several controls now we can play with. We've got the wavetable position, or essentially the wavetable shape. We've got the start position of the wavetable, the phase. We're just going to interact with the first oscillator. We've got our filter. Yeah, we haven't even done effects yet, which we should do. So let's do some effects. So right now this bass line sounds kind of mono. So let's get some chorus going on. It's probably the easiest way to get some width in the mix. Chorus, turn it to 0 and then dial it in. Okay, so it's too much. There's too much offset. You can basically hear the difference in the left and right channels. So we'll pull that down. You can kind of almost hear it's rotating a bit too fast as well. So I might slow it down a bit too. What about the depth? Yeah, pull it down just a smidge as well. Alright, now let's try and tweak these parameters to try and get the sound nice and warm. Where's the good? Right, there's quite good. Might just try the, there's two square saw waveforms. One's like a pure one and one's a slightly more analog one, which is labeled as 2. Does sound a bit warmer. See, with that restart via gate off, you can hear the oscillators kind of moving and shifting, so it's always sounding a bit different. Depending on what you want, that might be what you want. But in this case, I kind of want it to be exactly the same every 16th. We'll just tweak these envelopes a bit too. I really want to hear that stab. Okay, probably should test this with the drums actually as well. So listen. Sounds pretty cool. Tiniest bit of reverb. Well, it's not tiny. Big size, low amount. I'll actually map one of these macro knobs up to that cutoff so we can do a bit of, potentially a bit of, yeah, let's do that. Bit of automation, or at least play with it. What am I doing? Configure to, all right, let's map that up to this knob here. All right. Longer reverb. Sec. Master effects chain, just for a bit of messing around with the structure. Just a little thing that I've made here to kind of make just for writing purposes, so I can do like a automatic breakdown or just test things out. I basically would delete it after the song's been arranged. If you've seen Data Life Endless Smile, this is kind of what this knob does. It's like a high pass reverb and delay, filter obviously. What else can we add to this little jam? Let's go massive again, add one more sound just for fun, just to make it sound a bit more atmospheric. Let's go, I've saved this sound, open sound. All right, so this patch here I've made, I was messing around the other day with my Korg monotron delay. I thought it'd be kind of cool to have it in my DAW without having to record it. So basically this is a monotron delay, which sounds like this. It's got these controls down here as well, just like you have the controls on the knobs on the little synth. All right, back to I'll get some sidechain on that. We'll copy it from the baseline channel. What have we got? All right. Okay, let's do a few things here now. So let's record these drums. Got a good drum loop. Audio from Atlas in, and turn the channel off so we don't hear a duplicate. Here's our drums. Oh, actually, we split that kick out, so this needs to be grouped. Just realized. So they're both going to the group, and that audio channel is now listening to the group. Okay, there's our drum loop. Might do a bit of just a few effects on this. We'll just use the default Ableton effects. So we're going to go a compressor, just to smidge it all together. I'm going to keep the ratio kind of low. 2 to 1's fine. I want the attack to be quite high, like sort of 20-30 milliseconds, so it lets the transients through, and then I want a quick release so it pushes this, the volume back up after it's compressed it. And then we'll adjust the threshold. Maybe I'll increase the ratio a little bit. That claps loud, eh? Down. Lock a few sounds. Lock that, lock that. Lock those. Cool. Definitely sounds better. Alright. Cool. Recording that drum loop. So I turn that off, record. Let's do this. All right, so that's a 4-bar drum loop there in audio. Let's do the same thing with the bass line. Yeah, audio from, what is it? Massive 5, in, channel off, record. There's no effects in that. There's a little bit of reverb on the bass line. Nah, it'll be fine. Okay, record that. Why don't you do that again? It's a bit quiet. Yeah, okay. Actually, I'm going to record this without the sidechain. Put the sidechain on the recording channel so it's not recording the sidechain into the loop. Now I'll record. But of course, we weren't hearing the sidechain, but now we can. Okay, so the loop's been recorded with no sidechain on it, on this recording channel, and then the sidechain's being applied to that. So it all sounds good now. All right, so I'm going to save that patch as... All right, so that patch is now saved. I'm also going to save that kit in Atlas. We'll go... All right, saving this kit. Okay, so that kit's now saved as Melodic Techno Drums 01, which means it's now saved all 16 samples into a little folder on the computer somewhere. I'll give you all these samples later, but let's move on for now. So I've got one kit saved of all the samples, one bassline patch saved, as well as the MIDI clip, and then obviously the audio loops for both. So now what I'm going to do is let's go back to Atlas and do a bit of, let's try some new drum kits. Get that bassline going again. All right, Atlas. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to hit new kit. It's going to cycle out all the samples and replace them with ones of the same category using these sample packs that we've made. Easy. It's like a one-button remix. Nah. It's pretty cool, but the clap's a bit weird. Yeah, sweet. All right, let's save that drum kit. Melodic Techno. Drums 02. So those samples are now all saved out, and we'll record a loop. right, that's been recorded. And so then what we can do now is also we'll go back into Massive. Say we'll use these drums. We'll go back into Massive. We'll tweak the patch a bit. Might even change the key. So let's shift that down. We're in A. Let's go into C. We'll make some tweaks. Quite a cool one there. All right, we'll save that. Essentially what I ended up doing there was just changing the wavetables a little bit. Did a bit of EQing here. This frequency knob kind of tends to go from about 200 hertz up to about 10. I'm not quite sure exactly how high it goes, but so I've basically boosted around 200, so where the warmth is. I kind of dialed back the reverb a little bit and just tweaked things a little bit. So that's the new patch, so we'll save that. Patch 02, and we'll record that loop. All right, cool. So I recorded that loop. By the way, I just put these in a group, by the way, because I wanted to split the sidechain out. I just grouped basically the audio channel and the plugin channel, so I don't have to keep swapping the sidechain between channels because that was getting annoying. All right, cool. So now we've got basically 2 drum kits, 2 drum loops, 2 bassline patches, and 2 bassline loops. Oh, let's not forget our awesome monotone delay patch. Excellent. Techno in a box. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fade to black. I'm going to make 3 more drum loops and 3 more bassline patches. And then I can wrap them all up and give them to you as a little gift in the description. Just give me a second. All right, guys. So I'm back. I've got 5 now. 5 drum loops and drum kits and 5 bass loops and bass patches. Alright, there you go. So that's basically a bit of a tutorial on how to make 16th bass for melodic techno, or just techno in general, in fact. Essentially, to summarize, we've got our drum loops made in Atlas, but the bass line is just, if we pull it open, just 2 oscillators. The first oscillator is usually just a basic square or saw wave. Second oscillator is something a bit different, and dialing that in to add the character. Bit of a filter with a little bit of envelope on it. Some chorus for width. Tiny bit of reverb sometimes goes a long way. And a bit of EQing, a bit of tweaking here or there. Oh, yes, and also using this oscillator phase offset and restyle via gate thing in Massive. And of course, if you're doing this in your mix with, 20 other layers, you obviously would be putting on your EQs and your different tools and stuff to make it sound warmer and nicer. I've kept it pretty basic for this tutorial, but I definitely added some sidechain. That's always good. You don't really need to compress a 16th bass because it's going to be so fast, the compressor's not really going to do anything. But definitely your EQs and stuff like that, and your effects and things. And that's basically it. So I'm going to include the 5 drum loops and 5 drum kits made in Atlas, as well as the 5 bassline loops and 5 bassline patches made in Massive, as well as this Korg little monotone patch I've made here as well. Which is quite fun. I'm just going to wait for it to stop. I'll turn it off. Yeah, there are other videos on our channel as well to do with melodic techno if you're into that, or just techno in general. We've got some good ones on drums. I've kept the drums and the processing quite basic in this video, but we have a more full-on one that goes into a lot more detail about making drums, so check that out. There's another bassline video as well for doing more stabbed rhythmic bass lines. And there'll be more. We do about 2 or 3 a week, so make sure you subscribe. So I'll now take all these drum loops and bass lines and stuff, put into a pack, and you can download that from the description and use them however you want in your own music, royalty free. But yeah, thanks for watching and catch you next time.